Yo, my zero squad, what's good? So, this ain't gonna be no normal what if. Nah. This is gonna be a special fan-made what if. You're probably like, wait, Supreme Reaper, aren't what ifs already fan-made? This is gonna be even more fan-made. Something you don't really see much around YouTube. What if it's gonna be more another anime, another my favorite. What if Deku was a hacker? Now, not any normal hacker. No. This hacker is something that the likes of All Might compares nothing to. Something you would call a god. This hacker can bend reality itself, but only to a small fraction. As we see Deku in a black void as a child, a white figure standing next to a darkened figure, what they would both echo and say, what the white figure would say, are you sure we should give this boy the power of a god, brother? The black one would say, yes, this human has a pure heart, the heart of that only an angel would possess. This mortal will have a good life. I feel he should be most entrusted with the power of the power of hacking. The white one is saying, can you explain to me how this hacking works? Do you mean cyber hacking? Like that? This hacking, the black one say, is nothing of like the likes of these humans have experienced. He can control cars. He can even shift reality, teleport. He can make weapons appear out of thin air. He can hack the code of existence itself. Opening tears, making his own pocket dimension, having aimbot in real life. Hell, he can even change his identity. He can even make reality itself glitch to teleport. He is the ultimate hacker. This power is my finest artwork, my brother. But are you sure the master is okay with this? The master gave me the okay, along with the rest of the council. Alright then. Izuku Midoriya. We the gods gift you with this power. I have a nickname to call this power reality hacking. We bestow it on you. Clapping their hands together. You hear the cry of a baby. To see Izuku with a glimmer in his eyes. A sort of glitch would happen. Hey, cut that. You shouldn't be playing with glasses. Glass. Ah! Pop off when I talk. Yeah, pop. When I, yeah, pop off when I talk. Yeah, I got that look at the Glock. Yeah, we got that Glock. We got WAP. That attack. We skip forward to see a 5-year-old Izuku in his house playing video games. As my boy Izuku would love the things. Like, he would worship them as gods. His mother would say, they're not even real entities, they're just AI. Izuku said, you don't know that. You don't know that. As they would go to their doctor, Izuku doctors would come out and say, Izuku's quirk is a weird one. It's a quirk that hasn't been seen yet. So, it means it's one of the new gen quirks, as they've been nicknamed. Now, the power scaling system I'm going to use for this is going to be inspired by another What If YouTuber. I don't exactly remember the name, but they do really good what ifs. As that can be put inside of a giant machine. This little boy, Izuku is gonna be God soon. Izuku looked up to see a man. The doctor would state, "This quirk is amazing." The doctor would say under his breath, "Could this be some quirk that even rivals All Might's quirk?" The doctor would state, pulling out a laptop, going to Nico, him telling her, "The way the system works is that we rate people based on their power, or as we call it, the destructive power, calamity at the top. Or the nickname is DC, destructive power. DP acts destructive power. All Might, when he was this age, had a destructive power of around 1400. There are things known as calamity class individuals with quirks that could destroy small cities, if not a small country. Not many of these type of quirks exist in the current time. Really only kind of offer one All Might's quirks could be compared to a calamity class. We believe Izuku's power may be one of the very rare calamity class, which is 1 to a 1.9 quintillion odd to happen. Izuku would gasp, saying, "You're telling me Izuku is going to grow up to be a calamity? I thought those were only myths." So did we, ma'am. But his base destructive power is already the same level of All Might, which is around 14 or 1500, and he's 5. Imagine what he can do when he's grown and he's fully mastered his quirk. His quirk has the capabilities to destroy the world if he wanted. As they would leave, Izuku would look up to see a black cloaked figure staring down at him wearing a mask with black lines and a red dot with a skull. The individual simultaneously would practically teleport. Izuku, not caring about it, kept getting home, playing video games such as Minecraft. Now, we actually skip a month after this happened. Izuku would go to school and be like, "I'm not Quirkwish." Bakugo would say, "Really, Deku? What's your quirk?" Deku would say, "I don't exactly know. They didn't tell me what it was, but they told me I have a quirk." Bakugo saying, "Really? Then what's the name of it?" "I don't know. They told me they call it hacker." Bakugo would laugh, saying, That's such a lame quirk, Deku. Izuku. Yet did Bakugo know that this quirk practically made Izuku a god, a demigod among men. Deku sparring. Bakugo would get in a fight with Deku. Deku gets sitting there getting beaten on. Deku would go into his mind, see an all-black void. A, a game-like screen would pop up in front of him, with it glitching in the sort. Izuku would look up and say, "Wow, what is this? It looks like an RPG type of thing." Pushing things and pushing buttons. A skull would appear with a spider, so a red spider being one of the symbols of hacking. Izuku would say, "This must be a quirk." Izuku's eyes in the real world would glow red as he would say, "Get off me!" before a red aura would explode off of him, sending everyone backwards. Bakugo slamming face first to a wall. Bakugo would scream, "Now you're dead, Izuku!" Where'd it go? As a red lightning would pop, would crackle off Izuku. Izuku raising his hands, teleporting, beating, punching Bakugo through the chest. Not killing him, not like going through his chest, but like punching him, leaving an imprint of his fist on Bakugo's chest. Deku not seemingly being able to control his body. Deku having somewhat of a glitch around his body. Would summon the sword out of thin air, slashing, cutting a pillar in the room clean in half. Everyone would jump him. The teachers themselves would get involved, but Izuku would not let go. He would slash and dash, cutting children, breaking bones, till his hair flowed in the wind with that black and red aura. He screamed! With the symbol of a skull popping up in his eye. His eyes. His pupils. An energy blasting off. He would punch, launching energy blast at everyone in his way, leaving craters in the ground. Izuku would glitch, teleporting himself in front of Bakugo, grabbing him by the neck, looking, growing a couple inches and growing muscle, choking Bakugo to near death, or body slamming him on the ground, turning his hands into sharp metallic claws before nearly stabbing Bakugo in the chest. A hero would have arrived on the scene before launching Izuku off. Izuku looking up with a red aura, a skull in his eyes glowing red. Izuku in his head would be not sure what to do. As this menu-like thing would be broken, glitched, he can't control it. Like a gun would Izuku would somehow get this ring around his arm, turning it into a plasma a railgun blasting at the hero, knocking them down, making them cough blood. His hands seem shifting back, as if it just became a cybernetic component. Izuku his life would become a game for a second. Izuku would put his hand in the air before summoning a death ball, condensing it and punching the ground, leaving a crater from which he once stood. Izuku flying up uncontrollably before the same masked figure that he saw before would come and knock him out in a dojo fashion, floating in the air, looking down at the human, saying, "You more than you're ready to face the power of my creation." For darting off, Izuku would wake up in an abandoned building, covered in bandages. Looking up, he would say, "Mom? Mom?" A skull mark appearing on Izuku's head. Similar to that of Dr. Manhattan, but more popular. Izuku would see the masked figure saying, "Hey, I know you." He'd say, "Hello, boy. I'm not a foe, I'm your friend. I'm the one who stopped your little rampage earlier. I've decided that I will train." The individual Deku getting up to defend himself in an unperfect pose. He literally doesn't know how to fight. That little spurt in power was just a little bit of what a calamity class person like him could do. The person would put up his hand before blasting air at Izuku's, punching, sending him against the wall, breaking it. Izuku's body seeming to have reinforced itself on instinct. The figure would say, "I will be your master, and I will help you control it, but you will still have to go to school." Would say, "Who are you?" The figure would say, "You can just call me Black, okay?" "Okay, Black." Unknowing that this person is one of the very beings that gave him his powers. Now, unaware that this being is someone like him. The person would open an inventory-like thing before pulling out a cloak similar to his. Zuko would put it on, even from that. The figure would say, "Rule number 1, don't show your face when you're on. Since they could potentially track you down and hurt your family and all that." The figure would stretch before charging at Izuku, punching him right in his jaw. This is better for a hacker. Before the figure would knee, elbow Izuku in his back, slamming him to the bottom floors of the building. Izuku not knowing what's going on, his power simultaneously activating again. His eyes would grow a little bit of a red, his hand getting coupled with the black and red aura. Izuku would punch, would instinctively block as the figure would come down with a sword. A shield appearing over Izuku as he blocked the attack. Izuku going to punch back, launching the figure upward out of the building roof. The figure floating in the air. Izuku would say, "Oh, you gotta teach me how to do that." The figure would charge back down, not even talking, before practically teleporting, kneeing Izuku in his jaw before punching him in his gut, launching covering his head in energy before blasting him across the wall, slamming him through 5 pillars. Izuku, not knowing what's going on, would go back into that mindscape of his when he went berserk. But this time he could actually read the control, the manual. Izuku from inside his mind would put his hands in an X, make his hands go into a jutsu type of thing, in an X for spinning his hands out. No. Putting his hands in an X, spinning them around, pulling back a punch and launching. A dragon-shaped figure would crawl out of his fist from the energy, slamming into the figure, making him fly through, hitting a wall. Deku would say, "Wow, this is so much like a game." The screen would begin to glitch. Izuku's hand glitching again, arm glitching, before turning into a sword. Izuku realized that he's able to shapeshift his limbs into different weapons as he pleases. His whole body has become a robot at this point. Before the similar ring that he got would appear, but this time on his shoulder, revealing a railgun, blasting the figure before he would charge, slash it as if he couldn't even fight before, but now he's able to do perfect moves, combos, for slashing, releasing an energy slash, cutting pillars in the building. The figure would pick up one of the floors that Izuku flew on before throwing it at Izuku. Izuku ducking down, his cloak having magical black ruins on him, protecting him. The cloak would bend to Izuku's will, as the figure would say while in battle. These cloaks were designed to only bend and control to their master's will. So you could be on a different side of the universe, and you could summon these cloaks out of thin air. They will always obey their masters. Izuku would think about this before realizing, if that's the case, he would expand one of his cloak's arms, covering the figure, before pulling back and then launching again, slamming him into the ground. Izuku would block it at a red energy ball from the figure saying, "Good, but you didn't do good enough to defend your arm completely." Izuku would look to see his entire arm destroyed. He would scream in pain on the ground, but his arm was not bleeding. The figure would say, "Give it a second. The healing will take a minute." His hands regenerating, as you see the bones, then the nerves, then the muscles, then the skin. You see his veins, his nerves, everything regenerating from that arm. Due to our powers, we have really good healing. So even if our limbs get destroyed, we can still regenerate them. But what if our whole body gets destroyed? As long as there's still a piece of our body left, we can regenerate. But if our whole body is destroyed, we will never come back. Let's say somebody destroys your entire body, but one of your hairs slips away. You can regenerate from that single hair. Yeah, hell, if one of your DNA cells is spared, you can regenerate. If your blood is splattered, you can regenerate. All it takes for us to keep regenerating is just for some of our body to be around. Even our blood we can regenerate from. We can even turn our bones into weapons if we want. figure would teach Deku basic taijutsu and kendo, which is sword fighting in Japanese, or basically Japan. Before teaching Deku how to make 3 basic weapons: a sword, a shield, and how to summon his cloak, and how to shoot many cover his hands with those orbs and send them off as blasts. The figure would teleport with Izuku home before saying, "Your mother does not know I exist. Your mother will not know that I exist. You will keep our training private, understood?" As the young Izuku would say, "Okay." And when your mother asks what happens at the school, you will say you blacked out and your quirk activated, and you couldn't control it. Okay. Before the figure would practically go into the shadows, teleporting away, going on a faraway building to watch Izuku, as we would see a glimpse of his eye, an all black surface with a hint of light, as it would glow, looking at Izuku. And that is where I'm going to be leaving off. What if Izuku had the powers of a hacker?